If I was holding up a newspaper, I'd say, extra, extra, read all about it. This is a cover story, it's an exclusive, and the headliner goes something like this. If you look at all the Bible's major redemptive characters, not all of them are men. Off we go now to one of the more famous women in the Hebrew Bible.
From the beginning, our Creator revealed His will to the common man. Individuals who listened to His call and responded in obedience. From the first Hebrew Avraham to the culmination of salvation in Messiah Himself, the Lord faithfully intervenes with His divine deliverance.
Thank you for joining us today on Zola Levitt Presents. I'm David Hart.
I'm Kirsten Hart.
Jeffrey Seif.
Today we're in the middle of our series, Divine Deliverance. We've been talking about heroes of the Bible, and today we're talking about Ruth.
Yes.
Is she a hero?
A beautiful story of loyalty. It all began there. Loyalty to a mother-in-law.
Which is rare.
In today's economy, yes. Well, loyalty, anyone sticking with anyone in today's economy is a rare story, never mind a mother-in-law.
And she is mentioned in the lineage of Jesus, so she's very important in the Bible.
Yes.
Where you go, I'll go. Where you stay, I'll stay is one of the famous lines that we know of from Ruth. Now here's the story of Ruth and Naomi, followed by teaching with Dr. Seif.
Grief-stricken by the death of her husband and 2 sons, Naomi's return to Bethlehem has not been a pleasant one. Her daughters-in-law have accompanied her and offered their support, but it all seems so hopeless.
זה לא בסדר. זה לא בסדר, חזרו. שובו לעמכם, לבית אמותיכם במואב. עשית אני מחסד. עם אלה שאינם עוד איתנו. אלוהים ייתן לכם מנוחה. לא. לא נחזור למואב לעולם. אנחנו נעשה את המסע הזה איתך. לארצך ולעמך. למה? אני כבר זקנה מדי. לא אוכל להוליד לכן ילדים. לא אוכל להביא לכן בנים להינשא להם. הביטי בי. אלוהים לא ייטיב עמי. מגיע לכן משהו טוב יותר. שובו לביתכן. אורפה חוזרת לעמה ולאלוהיה. אני רוצה שתחזרי איתה. לא. כי אשר תלכי, אלך. ואשר תליני, אלין. עמך, עמי, ואלוהיך, אלוהי. ואשר תמותי, אמות. ושם אקבר. כה יעשה אדוני לבכו יוסיף. כי רק המוות יפריד ביני ובינך.
What's particularly important to me is the dramatic tension between those women. But before getting to it, I want to speak to the backdrop of it, something I think we can all relate to, and that is sometimes when family economies go bad, it sets in motion all kinds of tension, problems, and movements. The family was in Moab, modern Jordan, and things just dried up. Things weren't good. There was death, there was tragedy. They came to Moab originally because there was a famine in Bethlehem. That's why Naomi and the family went, but things have improved. The backdrop to our story now is a woman, a Hebrew woman, an Israelite, who's returning to the homeland. And interestingly, an Arab woman comes with her. It's a beautiful story of family loyalty. And I like it too because we're looking at a woman, Ruth, whose beauty, whose loyalty to her mother-in-law. You know, mother-in-laws are subjected to a lot of jokes, and the God's honest truth, I've told one or two. But here, there's a woman who is so connected to her mother-in-law. Naomi is going back to Bethlehem to face an uncertain future. She doesn't really know what the outcome's going to be. And neither does Ruth, but just Ruth is so loyal. And that sterling virtue that she possesses, Ruth possesses, has left such a mark on the language that to be without virtue is said to be, quote, ruthless. I like the story in the text in chapter 1, verse 16 in Hebrew, Ki el asher telki elek. Where you go, I will go. And she stuck with mom, and you know what? She experienced a future that was beyond her wildest dreams. A lot of people are driven by circumstance, and to be sure, circumstance is driving this. Deprivation is driving this. Lack of income, lack of work drove the family, Naomi and her husband and sons, to Moab, away from the promised land. And then abysmal circumstances in Moab, modern Jordan, drove them back. And it's interesting, the drivers behind the story are difficulties in human affairs that we all face, but what fascinates me is how redemption and deliverance emerges from this. When we think of deliverance, we think of kings, generals, and saviors. I get that. But here, there's a story of deliverance coming not through power, not through pomp, but through peasantry. You saw the tattered robes of these women. They're not wearing fancy regalia. They're just wearing the inner beauty of a beautiful inner disposition. And out of that, God is going to bring forth the woman who is going to give birth to the Savior of Israel, not just in a spiritual sense as in Jesus, because Ruth is mentioned in his genealogy, but similarly to the line of David. It's a great story, and it's a story that we're going to attend.
So Boaz took Ruth as his wife. The Lord blessed them with a son.
Truth be known, I almost hate to interrupt the drama or to come out of it because the teaching is so much in the pictures. It's such a beautiful story of finding love at the ragged edge of life. Boaz is going to be dead in short order, and Ruth is going to go on and bring forth a line that's going to facilitate, in a material and spiritual sense, the salvation, the deliverance of Israel. It's a beautiful story, and just finding love itself is a beautiful story. Just finding blessing. You know, Ruth, it's this rags to riches story. It's this from being unemployed to getting a great job. Anyone that's experienced the contrast can relate. And if what you're experiencing right now is deprivation, not resolution, well, it holds out hope in the biblical text that life can turn around, and it does. Oftentimes we go down the aisle when we're married and we say, I do, but the first I do or the first I will wasn't a transaction between Ruth and Boaz. It was between someone else. In chapter 3, verse 5, I'll give it to you at the first in the Hebrew, Kol asher tomri elai e'aseh. It translates, Ruth said to her, I will do everything you say. The advice was given through Naomi, the mother-in-law. Listen, honey, I want to give you some advice. And there's a younger woman who's minded to abide it. Now that in and of itself, by the way, is a message for today, where the young tend to press against the previous generation. It's all about autonomy, and younger people are less inclined. I know for me with my boys, the way to not see a relationship get started is for me to advise it. That how could I possibly be right in these affairs? But here there's a story of a woman who says, honey, listen to me, and a little matchmaker going on, but good things came from that. I believe that God has great plans for our lives, and there could be some that are listening that are experiencing deprivation. This story began by deprivation in Bethlehem, so they went to Moab, modern Jordan. Deprivation and tragedy in Jordan, so they go back with little more than the ragged clothes on their back. They go back to Bethlehem to face an uncertain future. And here's this woman, Ruth. Folk could have said, oh, here's this Arab woman, what's she doing here, whatever, but it's not a racist culture. And by the way, Jews are not racist people, as a rule of thumb, contrary to popular misconception. But it's a story where you could say these women have it all stacked against them. They're acted upon forces beyond their control that tend to be more negative than positive. But you know what? God can pull the rabbit out of the hat, make the miracle to happen. He did, and He does. Great things to come in Ruth's life through this wonderful son that was born through this miracle-made union, a match made in heaven.
Our offer on this program, the DVD, Ruth, Your People Shall Be My People. Shot on location in Israel, Miles and Catherine provide some wonderful insights regarding one of the Bible's all-time heroines. Ruth forsakes her own land and people in Moab and joins her Jewish mother-in-law on an extraordinary journey that brings hope and redemption to all. A love story for the ages. 8 programs on 2 DVDs. Call 1-800-WONDERS and ask for the DVD, Ruth, Your People Shall Be My People.
Hi, thanks for watching Zola Levitt Presents. You know, besides our television program, you can also reach us at levitt.com, as well as following us on Facebook or Twitter. And of course, we'd love to receive your mail, and as always, you can call us. We love to hear your voice at 1-800-WONDERS. Don't forget, your donations are what enable us to keep going. Thank you so much.
Appreciate all of you that care to keep us on the air. It means a lot, and I know that the Lord has a way of visiting you with special blessings as you look to be a blessing to others. That, in fact, dovetails with the story of the day. There's Ruth, who's minded to be a blessing. And it turns out the greatest blessing in the world comes through her for the world as she stands as a matriarch for the Messianic line. God's got great plans for people who go out of their way to plan to bless other people. We're going to enter into a world now where women are so thrilled to see new life that's come and the hand of God in the making.
Naomi's life has completely changed. Once overcome by despair at the loss of her husband and 2 sons, she's found new hope in the birth of Ruth's son. And the women of Bethlehem are equally delighted.
יבורך האל שנתן לך גואל. אנו מתפללות ששמו גדול יהיה בישראל. תודה, בורכתי.
תודה רבה.
כפי שתטפלי בו, ישיב לך כגמולך. וכלתך רות, כמה שהיא אוהבת אותך. טובה היא לך מ7 בנים.
There's reason for celebration here at the city's gate. A once tragic story has miraculously turned for the good. Heartbroken at the loss of her family while in Moab, Naomi has returned with her daughter-in-law Ruth and become a vital chapter in a love story for the ages. Ruth, ever faithful to Naomi and the God of Israel, has gained a loving redeemer in Boaz. And now, on a little road in Bethlehem of Judah, they rejoice over the son of Ruth and Boaz. And they named the child Obed, meaning servant of God. Obed would become the father of Jesse, and Jesse would become the father of David, king of all Israel. Rejoice they should, and it's just begun here in this little town of Bethlehem.
Moving drama, is it not? Great story, to be sure. And the Bible is full of that. People that are just pushed to the ragged edge, but God bringing beauty out of ashes. It so fascinates me how deliverance comes through very difficult circumstances. And it happens on more than one occasion. And it's facilitated through women in the Bible, interestingly. Women that are tortured by lack of success, mothering problems, birthing problems, I should say, and so forth. But God has a way. Here we're told, as we noted when we saw it visually depicted in chapter 4, verse 16, that Naomi, the mother-in-law, took the child and held the child, and then all the neighbors are coming and doting on the child. Little did they know how special the child would be. There's a tradition in the Jewish world, by the way, when boys are born to say, and this one might be the Messiah. Well, truth be known, this one was giving birth to the lineage here. This woman, Ruth, was holding Obed, whose name is servant. We're told in verse 18, it begins, Ele Toldot. These are the generations. And by the way, the same kind of context and the same kind of words are the opening words of the ultimate deliverance story in the Bible in Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. Sefer Toldot HaYeshua HaMashiach ben David ben Avraham. The book of the genealogies, or the book of the generations of Jesus the Messiah, ben David, the son of David, ben Avraham, the son of Abraham. Inasmuch as the Ruth text speaks of the beginning of generativity, here you can see where this all points to. It's interesting, by the way, in the genealogies of Yeshua in the Newer Testament, there are a number of women who are participants in the drama. They're named, and Tamar is named. She was a woman blacklisted, in effect. Judah, her father-in-law disrespected her, and he had wicked sons who died, and he blamed the woman. And she, however, is going to, through interesting circumstances, give birth to a son. She's in the line. Ruth is noted in the line as well, and she is a Jordanian. She had a Jordanian passport, an Arab woman, if you will, a beautiful woman. And Bathsheba is noted, who was married to a man from Turkey. I say that because Uriah the Hittite, if you look where the Hittites frequented, we're on the Anatolian Peninsula, Asia Minor, modern Turkey. There's lots of interesting people in the drama. I don't think God's a racist, and I don't think you find that in the Hebrew Bible. You find in the lineage of Yeshua a lot of people from the region that have come together to give birth to the King of the Jews. In fact, it's interesting for my money, even when you look at the Matthean text, the Gospel of Matthew, the first to acknowledge Yeshua are not women and men of Jewish extract. It never says there were 3 wise men that came. That's just a tradition. But the fact that they came with gold, frankincense, and myrrh attests to them being what we'd call Arabic traders. These are commodities that were moved around on dromedaries, on camels, by Arab peoples. It was a major trade in that part of the world. It's a beautiful story about estranged Arab cousins coming to worship He who is King of the Jews. Deliverance is fascinating. Lots of surprises, yes? It's a rhetorical question. When I say yes, I'm kind of asking, but I think I know the answer to it, and I hope that you know the answer too. We're looking at the drama of the ages as found in the pages, and we're tracing the story of deliverance, how it came through this book, and I hope it came to you.
All of us at this desk have been a part of church ministry for years, and I just got to say I'm thankful for a wife that has been obedient, I guess is the word, following me when I'm called to a different city in ministry, and that's happened quite a bit in my life. I guess that's kind of our theme today, of following.
Well, certainly that's the case with Ruth, but
Yes.
to your point, it's amazing what we guys put our women through, whether we're called to the ministry or not.
Right.
They go on a journey with us, in the process of which they lose their figures to having children with us. They spend their, not that you have done that, but the point is they lose their youth and lose a certain amount of control. A male is a powerful creature, and a woman attaches to that and goes down the road. My goodness, the implication for a woman's life are profound. You think?
Yeah, it is. But where you go, I mean, I know it's Ruth saying, but where he goes, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. But that's because we're in a marriage together and that kind of bond. So what is amazing about Ruth is, to her mother-in-law, she said, to my mother-in-law, not my husband, where you go, I'll go where you stay, which led her, what?
It's all the more amazing when she's saying it to her mother-in-law,
Right.
not to a spouse.
I know.
I get the point, but no mother-in-law jokes now. This is national TV.
No, because mine watches, and I'm not talking about you at all.
But
Right.
it does speak to the point. There is a kind of loyalty there. Speaking of which, it discourages me. Honestly, I was thinking of this today. I've been getting too many phone calls and texts and emails about divorce and breakup and marriages, all this disintegration, this splintering. Here we're looking at undying resolve by way of contrast.
And if she had not stayed with Naomi, she would never have met Boaz. She would never have been in the lineage of Yeshua.
So does loyalty and faithfulness to God and His plans pay dividends?
Good.
There's an outcome.
It's good.
Right.
I know. We could talk about this forever, but we have limited time. We'll be right back.
Shalom, shalom, Yerushalayim. Shalom, shalom, shalom. In the holy city of Jerusalem, we will pray for peace. Shalom, shalom.
I am a grandma. My grandma name is Graham Cracker, so I want to say a special word to all of you grandparents today that are missing your grandkids and missing having time with your children. You want to know a wonderful way to spend time with your kids and those grandbabies? Take them on a trip to Israel. It will change their life spiritually. An investment in their life spiritually will also give you time with them. Levitt.com is our website. Sign them up for a trip to the Holy Land. Now let's hear some music by Zola Levitt.
homeland forever, land of Messiah, Israel, my love, our God watches thee. Does the rose still bloom in the desert? Does the olive tree bask in the sun? Do the children laugh? Are the soldiers home? Is the age-old fighting done? Has Messiah come? Has the King returned? Are we saved? Oh, blessed be He. When the King comes home to the land He loves, can we live? Can we pray? Can we be? Israel, my love, Israel, my promised, chosen of God, chosen for me, homeland forever, land of Messiah, Israel, my love. How God watches thee.
I love telling the story of Ruth, and harking to Kirsten's point earlier, she was obedient. A misunderstood term, by the way, from the Latin meaning inclining to the voice. That is to say, within Ruth, she inclined herself to hear. She heard God's voice through her mother-in-law, and the rest is history, yes?
Right, to stay, to go, and then Boaz came, and as I mentioned earlier, then Yeshua came from her, eventually. It's a beautiful story of deliverance from death to life.
And he still speaks to us today.
It surely does. Would that we all listened for the voice. Thanks for paying attention to ours. As you go now, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Our monthly newsletter, The Levitt Letter, is free and full of insightful articles and news commentary from a messianic perspective. Visit levitt.com to find our newsletter, along with current and past programs, our television schedule, and much more.
Don't forget to order this week's resource by calling 1-800-WONDERS, or you can purchase it from our store at levitt.com.
Your donations to Zola Levitt Ministries help these organizations bless Israel.
Thanks again for joining us this week. Zola Levitt Ministries and this television program depend on tax-deductible donations from viewers like you.
This has been a paid program brought to you by Zola Levitt Ministries.